Mary Kay, we know that that's this league. We know that like injuries are part of our game, and it's always got to be next man up. This has been the most challenging year of my coaching career, quite frankly, and has not been easy. A lot of change going on around the room, but again, these guys do step up and they keep fighting and they over communicate at the line of scrimmage for the new people, and they try to do everything to get everybody on the same page. I'm so thankful for the guys in the room and the character of the room. I love having, Coach Ben Wilkerson in there, Coach Sanders Davis in there, and I don't think I can put into words the impact that Joel Bitonio has in the room. He is a player coach. Like, he is doing so many roles. He is so good, and that room collectively grows these young players. And that's why when a guy like Garrett gets thrown in with a battlefield promotion, gets promoted to the active roster on Saturday and then comes in the game on Sunday and has a pretty good game, because this room has been growing him, and they do care so much about each other, and that's been one of the really fun things.
Mike, you talked in the offseason about how excited you were to get to work with Joel. Now that you almost had a full season, I mean, can you describe how much it's exceeded expectations? Just kind of.
Yeah, I knew the gift that it would be, but it has far exceeded that. It has been one of the joys of my coaching career and honors of my coaching career to get to work with Joel.
So talking about coming back next year?
Not yet. It's coming.
Mike, how have you seen Luke kind of step into the starting role at center and really learn throughout the whole season to be ready for this?
Yeah. Luke has prepared like a starter all year. He's a guy that has also been very coach-like for a long time. He had the moniker of Coach Whip, and sometimes it was positive, sometimes it was not. But no, and all jokes aside, the kid prepares like a pro. He does things the right way. And because of that has allowed him to step in and really lead us and get us on the same page. Because I do think, like, we have all got to see the game through one set of eyes, and it's going to be the centers. And the things that our centers are doing right now, from protections and cans at the line of scrimmage and some of the things we're putting on them, like, you cannot just throw any random guy in there. It's a guy that's got to know the game plan and own the game plan inside and out, and he's doing a good job with that. And, I think some of that is the way he prepares. I think some of it is being under Ethan Posick. Poe was amazing in his preparation and his attention to detail in the game plan. You talk about the culture of the room again. Like, I don't know if this story's been told, but with Poe on the ground, not even in the cart yet, he's telling Whip what to expect and what this means when this hand's down, and he's giving him every tip that he's learned from the first half of that game. And again, that's who Poe is. Poe just loves the Browns. He loves his teammates, and was trying to give Whip every answer he could to the test.
When you guys made that decision a few weeks ago to rotate Wyatt and Tevin, first, what did you want to see out of Tevin, and then also what was your message to Wyatt?
I think Kev spoke to that and really done a good job kind of summing that up. For Wyatt, like, just like everybody, like, we're always talking about, like, what can we do to get these guys to play even better, like, to be the best version of themselves every week. And that was really the challenge to Wyatt, is like, hey, man, like, we know the player that you are. Want to get it out of you every play.
Talking to some guys and coaches this week about some of those post-snap rotations, especially on the defensive front, when they show everybody at the line and they kind of back up out of it. As somebody that oversees the offensive line, what are some of the teaching points? Because it's tough. Like, you don't know, when there's 8 guys on the line, you don't know who's going to come, if everyone's going to come or not. So what are some of kind of the teaching points that you use to kind of make sure that you mitigate the damage, or so to speak?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and some of it, like, I certainly can't tell you before this game. But there are some things that we're seeing, but the biggest thing is, like, you got to know, like, those guys in the back end, they have 30 years of collective experience playing under Sean, like, in Sean's system. And they lie to you very often with their initial alignment. And, so again, seeing all the tips that we can pre-snap from everybody's alignment right on down the line, those are things that got to talk to us. And they do a very good job of not just the safeties, not just the corners, but the linebackers as well, really not telling the story pre-snap.
How vital is, like, post-snap awareness from even like an offensive lineman. You know, when you might be anticipating something, but then something else happens. Like how big and how important is it for you guys, like for them to have like a post snap awareness and maybe adjust on the fly themselves?
Absolutely critical, and that's the nice thing about some of our combinations, our ability to see a little, see a lot, see nothing, and making sure that their eyes are in the right place so that we can get to that secondary response. We've talked in here about AAA before, alignment, assignment, and adjustment. And for an offensive lineman, that's so key, is knowing what that adjustment's going to be, anticipating about what you see pre-snap, but certainly being able to react post-snap as that ball turns over in those fractional seconds of getting to our work and making sure we're giving a path to Q in the run game. Protectionally, the picture's going to change too. Like, we know that. And look, that's life in the big city. We get it. But we've got to know where our eyes need to be so that we can do our job.
Two questions real quick, if you don't mind. The first one, when you're talking about Joel and mentioning that you will talk to him about coming back next year, just how high a level is he playing at this year in his 12th season or whatever it is?
Yeah, I wouldn't trade him for anybody. That's the bottom line. Like, not just how I've talked about feeling about him in the meeting room and what he does for the Browns, but his play on Sundays has been awesome. And I don't know, I don't know what qualifies you for a Pro Bowl. We've talked about all these things, but if he's not it, they're not seeing what we're seeing. He does so much for the Browns. The other thing, that goes without being talked about much, you guys are at practice. You see, days he's practicing and days he's not. And his ability, because of his experience, to just jump in there on Sundays and do his job when he couldn't walk on a Tuesday is crazy. And I'm just blown away by him every week. The way that he fights for the Browns and his teammates. So much respect for Joe Bitonio.
And then my second question is, I think that Ethan was helping with sliding the protections when he was in there for the first few games of Shador. And with him not in there, what have you guys done with the sliding protection responsibility?
So Whip's still doing a ton of things for us. Whip's seeing a lot of it and really driving the ship. That's what we've put on the center position now, and he's doing a great job with it.
Cam come in there at that left tackle spot. He's been one of the guys that, like Joel, has sort of become sort of a stable piece. How have you seen him sort of adjust and kind of solidify himself over?
What qualifies a stable piece in 2025? Play 2 games in a row?
Pretty much.
Yeah, okay. Cam has been absolutely phenomenal as well. You trade for somebody in the middle of the year and you hear rumors about who somebody is. Cam Robinson is freaking awesome. He is a football player. He does everything the right way. He's been a joy to work with. So, and I'm certainly glad that he's been a stable piece.
When you talk open and saying how it's been the most challenging year of your career, right? But then you're raving about these guys. So is it strictly the fact that you don't know who's going to be out there for you that has made this so challenging?
Yeah, I think different quarterbacks make it challenging when they have different cadences and different ways of doing things. There's been a lot of adjustment for a room. I think as coaches and as offensive linemen, we're creatures of habit. We'd love for everything to stay constant. That's not the life that we live. We get it, but we can still want. And I was so fortunate. I had years at Stanford. I think I had 3 years in a row where I started the same 5 guys and never had anybody miss a play. And so I was a better coach then, And look, we've had guys thrown in that have entered the building that are taking reps with the ones the day they get here in the last couple of weeks. And that's not the continuity you want. You want those 5 guys getting every rep together in practice because they're so meaningful. Practice is everything. And then you hope that it transfers to the game the right way. So I guess that's what I mean is there's just been so much change, and it's been difficult. It's not how anybody wants it to be. We know it's a reality, but it's not what you want, and it's been challenging because we've gotten different people ready to play. We've had to make some of those adjustments that I talked about with who's under center, and those things are just challenging, and we all want success. It's a win business. We're in it to win. And you just want your room to perform at such a high level that it helps elevate the team to do so.
You talked about the center position sort of helping some of those calls for Shador and sort of where to slide and things like that. I know that's a learning process for any young quarterback, especially. And I talked to Joel about that a little bit. But how do those conversations go during the week where he's talking with the O-line and kind of getting on the same page as them? Obviously, without giving anything too detailed away, but like, what are those conversations like, and how have you seen him also, pick up some things as he's started more and more?
Yeah, I've seen him ask better questions every week and trying to understand exactly how we're handling things and wanting to be involved in those conversations. Like today, we just got completed a walkthrough, and he was like, just going back to yesterday, who is handling that element? And like, those are great questions. Like, quarterbacks want to know where they're protected. That's not too much to ask. And but him being completely in tune to it is something that's going to continue to allow him to take steps. And so I do think that he's doing a nice job. I think the communication between the line, but also like just knowing like Tommy and Muss and what they do with him and how they're growing this young quarterback has been cool to see.
That you've worked on with KT, and where have you seen the improvement, especially as he's gotten to kind of like get some back-to-back starts at right tackle?
Yeah, I think KT's had some great growth there. I think we think back early in the season and where some of the silent count was really getting him, and he wasn't able to really do his job. He wasn't able to set square and land his punch. And now he's doing those things better. Like, he is a strong young man and has great power when he gets his hands on you in protection, and he can move you in the run game. And we've just got to allow him to continue to do what he does best, play in and play out, and then continue to grow on the things that he's not as proficient at. And he's working at it.
Right tackle is maybe like the perfect spot for him. Because I know he's played around and he's even like moved inside that guard. But do you think right tackle is maybe that perfect spot for him? Or?
I think that's a great question for the offseason because I do think he has position flex. But right now, as long as he keeps growing at right tackle, I'm going to be pleased. All right. Thank you all. Yes.
So how tough was it to be without Denzel last week?
Yeah, it's always tough when you don't have one of your best players out there. But we always tell him, like, even when he's not out there, he is out there. Just as far as, like, his presence, some of the details, some of the habits that he's really, like, imparted on our group. So we like to say that, hey, even when he's not, he is.
Miles Harding kind of playing. Miles Harding, he had to play a little more outside with Denzel out, and I think he got caught on that crosser and on the touchdown. Just what do you make of the overall performance and maybe some things that you can work on, especially because he was moving from nickel to really playing a lot of outside last week?
Yeah, details win games. And with Miles going out there, really glad that he's getting a chance to get some more outside reps. Obviously our defense values versatility, so to have that young guy play predominantly inside, but then go outside with our main focus of stopping the run, I'm glad to see him developing there. The things that like we've really been working on with him specifically is like really just the outside details. So when we're in cut split play, us really like just detailing out what our eye progression is, where we're trying to get to as far as like with our final leverages. And then he's a studious young guy, right? Like he's a trusted teammate. So, unfortunately and fortunately, we've all given up some plays. So he's very much in a growth mindset.
When Tyson comes back to the sideline after that play, the DJ Moore play, the one touchdown.
Sure.
What's the conversation? It's not the first time he's been beat for a touchdown, but it looks like he's in decent position, and just sort of, more just makes a better play. What's the coaching point there?
Sure. First, next play mentality, right? Like he expects, we expect. All of us expect him to make that play. So with him being in good position, we talk about, like, let's be in our best position. We want to be the first aggressor on the ball. There's some details as far as, like, with our footwork. We can scooch a little bit further. We can stay high shoulder to attack back on that. But bottom line, it was one of those things, a next play mentality. The next play is ours. And obviously, whenever the ball is in the air, we want to track and attack it.
Tyson strikes me as a really physical player.
Yes.
But like he's never afraid to stick his nose in the run game, all that stuff. How nice is it to have a guy like that in that room?
It's everything. You know, whenever you have like a guy like that, that's one of our top pillars, right? Like we want to be known for physical violence, and he's naturally like a physically violent kid. We talk about like being the first aggressor, like he seeks contact. You know, so myself being like a former safety, like being a defensive back, like I think that he's an old school corner, right? Like he's a guy that all of the guys that have come before myself, guys that have come after, like when you have like guys that are physically gifted but want to be like physical in the run game first, that talks about what Kevin thinks is important that we all know. Tough and competitive. When you have tough guys that are competitive, they actively want to get in the run fits.
Go ahead.
Did you have any prior knowledge of Sam Webb? Because he went from I think being on Tennessee's practice squad a couple weeks back, and now he's starting games, playing significant time.
Can you say that again?
Did you have any prior relationship or knowledge of Sam Webb prior to the team signing him? Because he went from being on a practice squad to now starting games and playing a lot of significant time.
I did, man. And it was one of those things like when we get to the combine, obviously we like speed, length, athleticism. So every year when we get to the combine, everybody who is 32 inches or every corner who's going to be evaluated or not evaluated, we immediately circle guys that are 32 inches. So had a great deal of knowledge of this young guy, especially coming from a small school, right? Like you want to pride yourself as an evaluator, like finding a diamond in the rough. And when you find a guy like that is coming from a small school, you think he's arrow up. We talk about really having a, low floor, high ceiling. Right, he's a guy that has an extremely high ceiling because he's bright, he's tough, he's competitive, and he has the traits that we're looking for. So, prior to the combine, like seeing that and then being able to sit down with that young man was really great. So to see him in our building, fortunately, I told him like, man, the Lord has blessed us with every young guy that we wanted. Man, like they have come in the building, and we have a system that really like helps young guys like that, like really be their best. So glad he's here.
Josh Allen, what challenges does he present your guys in the back end, both in the run game and the passing game?
Yes, you know what? Great player. He makes a lot of off-platform plays. He extends coverages on guys, and then he's a run threat. I know that, talking to Coach Schwartz, right, he's really built just like Derrick Henry. So, the physical traits of him, with him running the ball, not just extending plays, but him in the run game, we got to make sure that we arrive violently and we have an opportunity to capture that guy so the other 10 players can get there. And then, like we said about the off-schedule things, like he is not afraid to throw the ball down the field. And he has great touch. He has, like, a great command of the system. So we have to do a really good job communicating first.
Seems like this year the defense as a whole has stayed so motivated, and for the most part production has been the same no matter what the record is, no matter what's going on with the offense or special teams. Like, what is it about Jim as a coordinator that it just seems like he's able to motivate this whole group so well?
Yeah, Ashley, you have to inspire and motivate like your group. He talked about like really having a premium on that and really simplifying, and with us simplifying in Jim's scheme, like he wants us to attack. He wants us to attack as teachers. He wants the students to attack, and he's very unwavering with that. And I think that when you have like proven competitors that want to compete at the highest level, like they want that type of feedback. They want that type of expectations and to be held accountable. So from a teacher top down, we're all held to the same standard, and our standard is the best. And, as a teacher myself, it's been really cool to be around him from, somebody who has played for Jim and somebody who's getting a chance to like really be tutored underneath him at this point. It's really cool to see how he holds everybody accountable. He's unwavering on it, and he's extremely consistent.
I don't know how much you guys have been matched up with them, but it feels like Allen, especially last week, threw to his tight ends a bunch. How big a part of their game is that, and how aware do you have to be?
Sure. We have to do a really good job, like defending 53 and a third with this group. He is very non-discriminatory as far as like where he distributes the ball. So that makes you really have to defend everybody with fundamentals and techniques. And we know that details win games. So we have to do a really good job stopping the run first. And once we stop the run, we have to do a really good job on all threats, including the tight ends. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.